Hello and welcome to the Tongue of the Trees channel. I'm Elizabeth Ashley, the Secret Healer, and today we're talking about what is Cistus Essential Oil good for? Well, if I'm honest, I had to do a lot of research because it's not an oil I use very often. I went and bought some and I am in love with it, but normally I would take data, wouldn't I, from my own free book. There's hardly anything in there. So today's source is Salvatore Battaglia's book, the better, Complete Guide to Aromatherapy. Where's mine's free? His definitely should not be free. Fantastic, fantastic resource. Thank you, Sal, for all the hard work that you put into that. So, Cistus, beautiful, beautiful oil. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the physical properties of Cistus Essential Oil. To me, the emotional, mental and spiritual aspects are so beautiful and almost feel wrong being left out of this video. So please, when you've watched this, go to the description. You'll see where we've put the link to the next video, where we really get into the nitty-gritty of the spiritual, the emotional, the psychological aspects of Cistus Essential Oil, and where we'll also talk about safety. And then Gerglé is going to do a beautiful, beautiful piece about the blending of Cistus Essential Oil. Now, normally I would like to talk about where Cistus comes from, but Gerglé talks about it so beautifully in his video. I'm going to skip entirely to the goats. I'm going to leave that and leave that to him. So we are going to go straight into the morphology. So what does the morphology mean? That means which part of the plant is used to make the essential oil. And that is that the whole of the plant, the leaves, the flowering tops, are shoved into a vat and boiled. And then from that, a gum is released. And when you watch Gerglé's part, you'll understand the gum bit better. But the gum is released and then the gum is distilled. And that's what we get, the steam distillation of the gum. And it's a very, very busy essential oil. So I have to say, I always talk about my healing clique of essential oils. And no matter how good an essential oil is, if it's not in my healing clique, it's not one of my gang, it doesn't get used very much. So one of the main aspects of Cistus Essential Oil is how good it is for the skin. And whilst I use it for mature skincare, things like eczema and psoriasis, where it is wonderful for, helichrysum gets my vote. Hence why it doesn't get used very much in my repertoire. But let's talk about what Sal says to use them for. First of all, he describes how it is styptic. And if you don't know what that means, it means it stems blood flow. So if you have a wound that keeps on bleeding, or poor old Dexter's world at the moment, he's getting really big spots, so I keep going round with the lavender oil and the grapefruit. But the other day we had one that just wouldn't stop bleeding, so we put some Cistus on there to stop the blood flow. Styptic. But we're talking for the main part of really quite bad wounds. So particularly ulcers, you know, if somebody has, there's lots of elderly people in particular, aren't they? They get skin ulcers. I would use something like galbanum, but Cistus and galbanum together are absolutely beautiful. So skin ulcers is lovely. And like I say, all of those rashes that we get, all of those skin diseases, eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, for those, I genuinely feel that, yes, it definitely heals and it's a really good healer, but it feels to me like the healing doesn't happen on the topical level. It speaks to what's going on in the emotional level. We talk about that in the other video, but if you've read my book on eczema, it's a book with a green cover and playing cards falling down, because I took all the way through. I was writing it. I kept thinking about, you know, you can spend so much time building that tower of cards, but it's just the tiniest thing that makes everything fall down. And that is certainly true with eczema. It can be, you know, you've eaten the wrong food, the weather's been wrong, somebody's changed their, mum's changed their washing powder. But often it's just this self-talk inside of you that sets you off. And I won't go too deeply into it because it's very much the topic of the book, and it's a long and protracted one. But there's this idea of being flaky, you know, you're worried that people will see you as flaky. The skin in particular it's our inner world on the outside. It's what people see. And so when we see somebody's skin flare up, it's often showing us that they are worried about what people will see. And it's an irony, isn't it? All of the mind, body, spirit stuff, the body, mind, medicine is often ironic, that we are worried that people will think badly of us, and immediately we make ourselves look worse to get judgments. And it's, you know, it's totally, it comes from inside. It's a subconscious thing that you can't control. But the key word on Cistus is here and now. And Cistus talks back to when something's happened before, a trauma's happened, an upset's happened, a memory has ingrained. And then suddenly, I always think it's like, remember when we had like a proper album, a vinyl record, and it'd have the slightest little scratch on it or a little bit of static, and you'd hear that every time it came round. We see that very much in things like eczema and psoriasis. It's imperceptible. You cannot see it on the record. But the same thing, the same little theme always catches over and over again, whether that be something that somebody said, something that, you know, in the book I talk about a little girl that actually she's not a little girl now, she's grown up quite a lot, but her brother was a profoundly poorly little boy with an anatomical disorder that needed a lot of care. And this little girl had truly got the worst eczema I had ever seen. And I'd see her walking to school and she'd be scratch, 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 scratch. And Mum would go off and leave her. And immediately the scratching would stop. Now Mum hadn't noticed, because obviously Mum wasn't there, and the little girl wasn't deliberately doing it to get her mum's attention, but you could see it was like this, think about me, Mum, you know? And it went over and over again. So we see these patterns often happening. And of course, every time she scratched, she broke it open. So when we use something like Cistus, it talks to that negative self-talk to going, right, okay, but we're not there. We're here. We stay in the here and now. We'll talk about a lot that in the next the next video. But it's so intricately related, quintessentially linked, really, to getting the eczema and the psoriasis better, that we can't leave it out of this particular video. However, also, if you are an older lady, it's beautiful for wrinkles and just tightening the skin and making the skin feel smoother, you know. So where we have, with the eczema and the psoriasis, we have this roughness and what's the word I'm trying to say? That it doesn't, well, it just doesn't feel young anymore, you know. Coarseness to the skin. The Cistus is very good at being able to do that, and I would especially recommend using it as in fact, if you buy the Recipe Hub, we do a whole set of recipes for mature skin that are cleanser, moisturizer, nourishing cream, and toner, all with the Cistus base, because I just think that it works right the way through. And also, again, it speaks to this thing of, I know you look different when you were younger, But look how beautiful you are now. You know, it has that same resonance that we will move forward and we will stay here looking forward, no looking back. And for somebody, I have to say, as a Cancerian, I am a very nostalgic person. I enjoy antiques and vintage, and I will often look back to how things were. I was part of a very big gang as a child. We used to go out the back gate of our garden onto a cul-de-sac, and there were loads of kids there of the same age. And I'm very proud to say I've stayed friends with all of them right the way through my life. And we had a lovely sort of meet up in the lockdown. We all got together, and it had literally been sort of 12, 15 years since we'd all been together in the same place. We were in our Zoom, and we were talking. I was like, do you remember this? Do you remember that? And everyone was like, how do you remember things so clearly? Everybody was like, oh yeah, somebody would remember that, somebody would remember that. But my internal world very much relates to the past. You know, that's a Cancerian thing. I can see things really, really clearly. And that's possibly what makes me a good storyteller, because I can put myself back in that place immediately and remember how it feels, you know. But actually, that's helpful to my job. But in life, that can be a painful thing, you know. And so for things like for PTSD and stuff like that, where it's an irresistible urge to keep going back, our entire neurotransmission keeps making us go back. Cistus reminds the brain that's not where we are. That's not where we are. We are here. We are here, and it's a safe place. Very, very helpful. Astringent, we talked about this, how it tightens the skin. Also, again, sorry about this, Cistus, because I do love you, but I do feel like I'm running her down a little bit. I say that, I don't think she feels feminine, I think she feels masculine, so I'm running him down. Coughs and colds, catarrh. So we have this idea of breaking down the thickness, you know. There are two types of, two oils that come from Cistus. We're talking about the Cistus Essential Oil, but there is Labdanum Absolute, and Labdanum is a very deep basso profundo, and it has a very similar kind of resonance to galbanum. And I use galbanum a lot for coughs and colds and catarrh and for skin ulcers. Do you see how they kind of feel like that they are interlinked, you know? Similar kind of resonance. But that's Labdanum Absolute. The Cistus feels, well, it's called rock rose, and it does have a very, very similar kind of resonance to rose. And again, we would see similar kinds of medicine playing out, wouldn't we? Especially diarrhea. This one's used for diarrhea. Rose we would use as a laxative, but that idea of playing on the bowel, of toning the bowel. Cistus we can use for stomach complaints. Thrush and Candida, excellent usage. That is one that I would use it, particularly with geranium and with tea tree. Fantastic for balancing the, I don't even know what we would call it, ecology. Balancing the ecology of the body. I'm pleased with that. Oh, we've put astringent twice. Sorry, I obviously wanted to make that extra point. Nervine. Clearly, when we were talking about PTSD, we can see how that would balance the nervous system. And also, it improves lymphatic drainage. And again, if you buy the recipe hub, I'm going to do quite a detailed recipe for lymphatic drainage and show you how to do lymphatic drainage massage to be able to use that. But why? Why do we use lymphatic drainage? Well, the first thing I would say is as we get older, we get puffiness here, won't we? And I have to say, I've been very lazy this morning and not done it. But we can do beautiful lymphatic drainage. Let's see if I can move the flesh underneath here. Can you see how it's moving? Obviously, it's loosening because I am older now. But if we drain this side off into the subclavian, it rests here. It'd be easier if I had some oil on my hands, but hopefully I'll be able to let you see the effect. Can you see immediately this side is puffier than that side? I've really done a work on my mascara, haven't I? But this side is more taut, yeah? And this side is, you can see the fluid here. So it doesn't drain off very easily on its own right, because it doesn't have a pump, you see. So like circulation has a pump, it has the heart. So it relies on muscle tension. So this is why we get things like cellulite, you know, because the muscle, the more exercise that you do, it pumps it with the muscle. So if you have a sedentary job and you're sitting on your ass all day in front of a video camera, that may build up. So to be able to move that, improve that on its own is very, very helpful. But then if we add other oils to it that have also beneficial effects, and we use a tremendous lymphatic drainage technique to be able to drain it off, we also see our buttocks and our legs will look better. But remember that the purpose of the lymphatic system is to fight infection. So generally our whole body feels more toned, but also we have a better immune support because of this. Very, very helpful oil. So I've put here, how do you use Cistus Essential Oil for? How do you use Cistus Essential Oil? I love it for inhalation, you know. So in the recipe hub, we've done lots of aroma pendant recipes this month where we breathe it in. Just gently. It's a subtle oil, you know, with oils that just tranquilize or do whatever it is we need it to do to support the cistus. But also excellent topical oil because it's very safe, very, very gentle. So we can use it in creams and ointments, we can use it in the bath, we can use it in massage oils, we can use it whichever way that we want to, because it's a nice gentle oil. So I'll put here ways to use Cistus Essential Oil. These are the things really that I've copied to do the recipe hub this month. We've got a range of a beautiful skincare range for older skin, for wounds, for eczema. I've put on here psoriasis, but I didn't do psoriasis because I copped out, because between you and I would use an oil that is not in the cards, and so I will not do it. I would use Cistus and Kaja put together, so you get a freebie there for thrush and for lymphatic drainage. And yeah, so in the next video we're going to talk about how Cistus is very good for emotional well-being, and hopefully I haven't spoilt it for myself by saying it all in this lesson, but also how do we use Cistus for supporting our mental health and what are its benefits for spiritual healing, and then of course the main chakra that's associated with the Cistus and how we would use it for mind, body, spirit there. So hopefully you will come across and listen to the mind, body, spirit, the safety, but most interesting of all, Gagley's little bit about blending. I do love that. So see you on the other side.
you get your phone, you turn it this way up, and then there's a little red subscribe button. Turn it grey by clicking it, and then there's a little bell. Click that and press all at the bottom of your phone or tablet or computer. It'll say you will receive all notifications, and then there's a little hand with a thumbs up. Click that, it'll turn it blue and it says added to your liked videos, and there will be comments, and if you want to you can send a comment and say like hi's to Mum and Gerglei, and then the link to the next video will be in the description below underneath the video. So bye.